Yo, what's up? Can we talk? Cause I'm just feeling so great. My name is Thomas. What's your name? Holy, I'm just loving life right now, and I really hope that you are too. And I am sharing some wisdom, I'm sharing some thoughts, I'm sharing some ideas with you today. Some things that may add value to your life. So, if you like what I'm saying, consider subscribing, because today we are talking about psychedelics. This one's going to be a fun one to talk about for sure. Yeah. Alright, so today I just want to talk about and touch upon the topic of psychedelics. Few things just about them, maybe some common misconceptions, how they can help, and what you can expect, or what you should not expect, more like, while you do them. All of these things I'm going to cover about psychedelic medicines. So the first thing is I just said they are psychedelic medicines. Yes, I'm talking about medicines like psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca, DMT. A lot of people will call these psychedelic drugs, but that kind of just gives it a negative connotation. You see, I think of a pharmaceutical drug that can give you a quick fix to your mood, to your mentality. I think of that as considered a medicine. Then a psychedelic also deserves to be called a medicine. Because you see, pharmaceutical drugs have terrible side effects. A lot of psychedelic drugs don't have that bad of side effects, but a lot of people will hear a psychedelic drug come up in conversation and immediately the drug is given a negative connotation. Well, understand, the way I'm talking about them in this video, I'm not talking about doing them for fun. I'm not talking about doing them to abuse them. I want to talk about ways you can do them safely if you think about doing them. As always, always check the legality in your country first, okay? I do not want to promote doing anything that is illegal, but I just want to fill in some gaps you might have in your mind about these medicines. I'm talking about using them in a way with the most benefit they could have to your life. That is why I call them psychedelic plant medicines. Alright, so psychedelics really induce hallucinations, right? But furthermore, I think that they actually let you see into different realms that coexist on this realm that we live in, right? So you can think of a psychedelic hallucination two ways. I mean, these are the two ways I think that people are thinking about them. Number one is like, you're putting this chemical into your brain, whether it's mushrooms, LSD, DMT, you're putting it into your body, it's going into your brain, and the first way you can think about it is your brain is producing these hallucinations. All that you're seeing, all that you're hearing, all that you're feeling is just a byproduct of your brain, and there's nothing really spiritual to it, is what some people may think. Well, in that case, if it's just your brain producing that, doesn't your brain produce everything else? Wouldn't that mean the emotions you feel, the connections you feel in relationships is just what your brain perceives, right? All that you see, all that you know is just what your brain creates? Well, yeah, right? If you're thinking about it in that way where there's nothing spiritual to it, then yeah, your brain's really just creating everything. So let me ask you, what's the difference between seeing something that does exist, right? Or seeing something that only exists during a psychedelic hallucination? If your brain's producing everything anyway, doesn't that mean that there's more out there that we don't know about that the brain can only perceive? Right, so I think the psychedelics really help us to really see more, understand more, and think of things in a way that you regularly can't when you're sober, or when you're not really enlightened, or you're just in your normal vibration. Alright, so the second way you can think of it is this chemical that you're putting into you is rewiring your brain And those brain connections are connecting with the world in a new way. Because understand that everything that we perceive of is just our brain having the connections to be able to perceive of it. Our brain is wired to perceive these colors. Our brain is wired to understand the thoughts that we have. So when you put a psychedelic compound into you, it's temporarily rewiring your brain and changing the way you look at everything, right? So you can look at things from a completely whole new perspective. If there's something you've been dealing with for a while, maybe a bad thought or a repetitive pattern, you can look in that in a whole new way. Psychedelics are actually amazing in the way that they actually trigger what's called neurogenesis. And this is a topic of science that has just recently been started to be researched. Neurogenesis is the birth of new brain cells. And when you do psychedelic medicines, you are actually promoting the growth of new brain cells. Right, so anybody that has depression or anxiety or has been struggling with any kind of thing that is making them suffer, psychedelics can actually help us to birth new brain connections in the brain. They help me with that. You see, in my experience, the first time that I ever did psychedelic mushrooms, it was a beautiful, magical experience, and I never saw life the same after that. The first time I did mushrooms, I felt, I'm going to do my best to explain it, but it's something you must really have experienced or experience for yourself to really truly grasp the mystical, divine experience that it actually is. It totally changed my life, my first mushroom trip. I had less worries. I trusted the process more. I was able to see the beauty in everything and everyone. After coming out of my first mushroom experience, I just began to worry less and understand that everything will be alright. Everything will be alright is something I really picked up from my first ever psychedelic experience, and I still carry to me with this day. I don't think without them I would be someone who always thinks, what if, you know? But now I just know everything's gonna be alright forever. I learned so much knowledge, and I learned so much things about myself. I learned so many things that cannot even be explained. Alright, more just emotions, thoughts, or ways of being. Ways of being is a huge thing that psychedelics can show you in life. When I say ways of being, I just mean like perspectives, really. Just perspectives that you take to life. Ways that you carry yourself, you know, like almost a new respect. Psychedelics teach you new respects you can take towards life. So yeah, really, what I'm saying about psychedelics is there's a huge misconception when it comes to them. But psychedelics can show you ways of looking at life that you have never ever looked at it before. In ways that I can't even explain through words in this video, right? I've done my best to explain, but you really just have to have this experience for yourself, and I don't pressure you to do it. Do it at your own time. To me, psychedelics always find their way into my life. I never really go out there looking for them. I've always felt a calling at a certain time where they have been introduced into my life. Next part, how can you do them safely and avoid a bad trip? Well, understand, even a bad trip is okay. Because during a bad trip, you're actually facing fears. You're facing thoughts that you usually keep bottled up. And all this bad emotion is actually coming to the surface right in front of you more intensely than it ever has in your life. And you can actually, in a way, just look at these fears. And the bad trip is caused by being consumed by these fears, right? That you have normally when you are sober. But you just take them for normal, ordinary thoughts. A bad trip is really just so many bad thoughts and fears all just coming up at the same time. And it can be terrifying, you know? If you have a fear of death, you can start to feel like you're dying. I know, it's pretty scary. I felt like it before, sure. For sure I felt like it before. But after that is over, when I look my fears in the face, when you have the bad trip and you're looking at this all in the face, after the 2 or 3 hours where it is some of the scariest experience of your life, you come back and see, oh my god, like, you learn how to, you have finally faced your fears. You know, it's like, you know how sometimes to make a fear go away, sometimes to eliminate a fear, you actually have to go out and tackle that fear. You have to meet it face to face, right? If you're scared of talking to girls, you have to go out there and you have to start talking to girls to beat that fear. Mushrooms will take all your darkest fears, if it is a bad trip, right? You can have a beautiful mystical trip or you can have a bad trip. Each of them are beneficial, right? But if you have this terrible trip, it's like going through your deepest, darkest fears, meeting them face to face, and after all that experience is over, you have so much weight off your shoulders. You don't fear those things anymore. You're smiling for the come down. You're just at peace because you have combated, you have met your fears. You just need to accept. So if you are having a bad trip, just accept it for what it is, which is fears that you have been holding inside of you. You're meeting them face to face. You had to meet them face to face sooner or later, or you would keep on living your life in fear. I've had multiple bad trips where it just feels like I'm going through a nightmare for hours. Afterwards, I come out of it a happier, more beautiful, more radiant person because I've just faced my fears and I've been able to let them go because I went through them. This being said, there are things you can do to reduce the risk of a bad trip. When you do psychedelics like mushrooms or LSD, there are things you can do to reduce the likelihood of having a bad trip. Because it is a beautiful experience. We do want to have that good trip, right? We do want to see the beauty, divinity in everything for our first trip, so we don't get turned off and away from mushrooms or LSD. Simply your mind states, your mindset, and your setting going into it. Everyone talks about set and setting. Your mindset is really just the place you are in. The mental place you are in, the day you do mushrooms, the time you do mushrooms, the time you do LSD, the mental state you are in is going to be magnified and blown up tenfold. So if you're in a pretty good mood, that's going to be blown up tenfold. But if you're in a bad mood, it's going to be the same. That's your mindset. Your setting is where you are. You don't want to be in a place where you used to have fights with people, right? Let's just say you don't want to be in a place where you broke up with your girlfriend, and you don't want to be with people you don't trust. Believe me when I say this. Being around too many people, being around people you do not truly trust on mushrooms can be very, very scary because you're literally going into a soul frequency with them. Some people have very bad energies. You are super sensitive to energies when you are under mushrooms or LSD. And it can really cause a bad trip if you're with people you don't trust. What I tend to do is do them with someone that has done them before, right? Do them with someone that has done them before. Maybe have a trip spotter, but literally limit it to 3 people or just yourself and someone else for the first or second time. Then once you learn about it, you can start to do them alone, right? Do it with people that have done them before your first time that you trust. That way you can really just go through the process and feel safe and secure. Alright, so I think I hit everything. Maybe the one last question is, what would you start out with? Mushrooms or LSD? I started out with mushrooms, and that's what I would recommend to people. It doesn't matter that much if you do LSD and then mushrooms and LSD. It really doesn't matter that much. It's just mushrooms, you have less control of what happens to you. The mushrooms are going to bring out things whether you like it or not in you, right? Whether you absolutely love it, it's going to bring out those things. Whether you absolutely hate it, it's going to bring out those things. It's good to learn how to lose control, let go, and let it be for what it is. When you do LSD, you kind of have a bit of control about where your trip is going, right? You can control the trip a bit, right? And I always think it's good to let go and totally surrender. So I hope you use these psychedelics safely. Last thing I'm going to say is, even though I have said so much, do your own research. Seriously. You should do research anytime you're putting anything into your body, right? Don't be that guy that watched one YouTube video and then goes out and does something, right? You want to take your notes. You want to have your knowledge. If you're going into the trip, have a notebook if you want. Have questions written down if you want. Because you're going to get some profound insights on life that you've never ever had before. Alright, and that's about it. So, if you really are enjoying this content, I do encourage you to subscribe, because I'm just doing this for love and to help you expand your consciousness and feel better about yourself, to add some value to your life. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace out.